Welcome to the Deep Dive from the Morse Global Finance Podcast team, where we take your stacks of research and try to help you extract the golden nuggets. I'm John.
And I'm Tiffany. I'll be your guide to help you connect the dots.
All right, so today we're diving into Allegiance Gold.
Sounds good.
A lot of you have been asking about this company. You want to know if they are the answer to securing, well, those golden years.
Yeah, let's unpack all that, see what we can find.
I think, you land on their website, and it's pretty compelling. They've quickly become, I think, a major player in this world of precious metals IRAs. Been around since 2013.
Yeah.
And, gold, silver, platinum, palladium. They offer it all, but there's definitely a strong emphasis on these IRAs.
Right. And that IRA focus is really something to note. They've partnered with some really well-known custodians like Strata Trust and Gold Star Trust, which adds a lot of legitimacy and security. And they use, very reputable depositories like Brinks, Delaware Depository. So they're serious about keeping your investments safe.
Yeah, no cutting corners there.
Yeah.
I was looking into the founders, Mark Naiman and Alex Ibkarian, and it's not just a couple of guys who jumped on the gold bandwagon. They've got decades of experience in finance.
It's good to know. It's one thing to just offer a product, but to have that deep understanding of, the entire financial landscape, I think that adds a lot of credibility. And you see that passion come through in the way they've built out their educational resources too, which I think is huge.
Yeah.
Especially for people trying to wrap their heads around precious metals and IRAs. It can be a little complicated.
Absolutely. Before we jump into the resources, though, let's talk about what they're offering. I mean, they've got the classic gold bars and coins, but then they also have some unique pieces like this Australian barn owl coin, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yes, I love that. They cater to both the traditional investor and the person looking for something a little bit more, distinctive.
Yep.
For the silver bugs out there, they even have a 1 kilo silver Britannia coin featuring King Charles.
Oh, wow.
I mean, talk about a conversation starter.
Yeah, very cool. So it seems like they have something for everyone. Now, you mentioned IRAs earlier. They specifically offer gold IRAs and then custom precious metals IRAs. So can you break down the difference for us? And more importantly, why should our listeners care?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where you start getting into the strategic thinking, right? A gold IRA, like it sounds, focuses solely on gold. And that can be a good option for someone who's really just looking for that long-term stable hedge against inflation.
Right.
But the custom IRA, that lets you kind of broaden your horizons a bit. You can add silver, platinum, palladium into that mix. This approach potentially offers faster growth, especially with silver's, kind of volatile nature. But obviously, anything that has potential for faster growth, there's also going to be, more risk involved.
So it's about, risk tolerance and your overall goals. It's not one size fits all. And speaking of appealing options, I was reading about their free metals program.
Oh, yeah.
It almost sounds too good to be true. For new customers who invest $50,000 or more, they're basically just throwing in some extra metals for free.
It is pretty tempting, you have to admit that, but you always got it. With these things, there's always terms and conditions.
Okay.
And the program itself is subject to change, right? So you really got to understand the details. You don't want to make any decisions solely based on that.
Yeah. I guess it's like anything else in life. There's always fine print.
Exactly.
But the fact that they're offering it does kind of speak to, I think, their commitment to attracting new clients and making sure that they're adding value.
Right.
Okay, so let's dive into what really impressed me, and that is their dedication to investor education.
Yes. This is where they really shine, I think. I mean, they offer a wealth of resources, videos, ebooks, a whole learning center on their website.
Yeah.
They cover everything from, basic IRA stuff all the way to these more advanced strategies like tax loopholes and inflation protection. They've even got videos with some big names in finance.
Yeah, which is really cool. It shows they're not just interested in making a quick sale. They really want their clients to be, informed and feel confident.
Absolutely.
But, talk is cheap. How do their actions actually measure up? What's their track record like?
Well, if you look at their reviews online, they're consistently really positive.
Yeah.
Across Google, Trustpilot, Yelp.
Across the board.
Yeah, pretty much. And they've also been featured in several, very reputable financial news outlets. So that adds to the credibility, I think.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Let's dig into those customer reviews a little bit more.
Yeah.
What are people actually saying? What are some of the recurring themes that you see?
I think what jumps out is the praise for their customer service.
Okay.
People really feel supported. They talk about the transparency. And of course, that dedication to investor education comes up again and again. People feel valued throughout the process. And I think that's huge, right? When you're dealing with something as important as your retirement savings.
Yeah. So it sounds like they're checking all the right boxes so far. Solid background, a diverse range of products, committed to customer satisfaction, big emphasis on education.
Yeah, they're definitely putting together a compelling case, I think.
But,
Yeah.
let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's important to remember that investing in precious metals, especially through IRAs, isn't as simple as, picking a stock or something. There's a whole layer of, there's that complexity, the IRS regulations and everything.
Oh, absolutely. And that's something we really need to unpack. Before you get swept up in, the allure of gold, we really need to take a closer look at some of those, potential downsides.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Precious metal IRAs, they're not your typical investment account. You've got this whole other layer of IRS regulations that can be pretty tricky.
So for someone who's, used to a simple brokerage account, what are some of the key differences they need to be aware of when it comes to these precious metals IRAs?
Well, first off, you got to understand that not just any metal qualifies for an IRA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the IRS, they have very specific rules about what types of gold, silver, platinum, palladium can actually be held in these accounts.
Okay.
And then there are regulations about where the metals have to be stored.
Hmm.
You can't just, keep them in your safe deposit box at home or anything.
Gotcha. So it sounds like, there's a lot of room for error if you're not careful.
Yeah.
What are the consequences of, messing up, making a mistake with these regulations?
Oh, it can be pretty bad. You could be hit with some hefty taxes, penalties. You could even have your entire IRA disqualified.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which means you lose all those tax benefits, that come with it. It's a big deal. And that's why working with a company that really knows how to navigate these regulations, like Allegiance Gold, is so important.
So it's about finding that balance,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You want to capitalize on those potential benefits of precious metals, but you also got to make sure you're following all the rules so you don't get, tripped up.
Exactly. And that's, another area where Allegiance Gold's commitment to education really stands out, I think. They go above and beyond to make sure their clients really understand all these ins and outs of these IRAs. They're not just, handing you the keys and saying good luck. They're there to guide you through the whole process.
That's great. That personalized guidance can be so valuable, especially for people who are new to this, this whole world of precious metals IRAs. But even with all these positives, I mean, there's got to be some downsides, right? Are there any red flags that potential investors should be aware of when it comes to Allegiance Gold?
Well, like we said, these IRA regulations, they can be complex. And even with a company like Allegiance Gold holding your hand, it's still on you to educate yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just blindly trust, any company or advisor. Make sure you understand what you're getting into.
Yeah, it's your financial future, right? You have to be an active participant, not just a passive observer.
Exactly.
Are there other potential downsides beyond, the regulatory stuff?
Well, remember the value of precious metals, just like any investment, it can go up and down.
Right.
While gold is seen as a safe haven, it's not immune to market forces. There's no guarantee it's always going to go up.
So, gold might have historically held its value well, especially during times of uncertainty, but it's not a guaranteed, path to riches or anything.
Exactly. And that's why, diversification is key. Precious metals should be part of a balanced portfolio, not the entire portfolio itself.
Right, right. Let's address the elephant in the room. I mean, they claim to be the top trusted gold company. Is that just, marketing hype, or is there something to that?
Well, that is a bold statement. And, whether or not it holds true, it depends on your definition of trustworthy, I guess.
Sure.
What would you say are your criteria for trust?
Well, I think for me, it's about transparency, having a proven track record and genuinely putting the client's needs first. So based on those criteria, how do they measure up?
Well, we've talked about their experience, their commitment to transparency with all the educational resources they provide, those positive customer reviews, and of course, partnering with, reputable custodians and depositories. That all points in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. They do seem to check a lot of those boxes.
Hmm.
But are there any areas where they might fall short, do you think?
I think one area that could be improved is the transparency around their fee structure. They do have some information on their website, but it's not as detailed as some investors might prefer.
Okay. So as we're, digging a little deeper asking some specific questions about fees before you actually commit to anything.
Absolutely. And, you should always compare fees and services across different providers, no matter what kind of financial decision you're making.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement, but you got to, do your homework, make sure you're getting the best value.
It's like shopping for a car. You're not going to buy the first one you see without comparing, prices, features, safety ratings.
Oh, no way. Got to test drive a few different models, read the reviews.
Exactly. And the same principle applies to investing. Don't rush into anything. Take your time, ask questions, compare, and, choose the option that really aligns with your needs and circumstances.
Right, right. Now, let's circle back to that free metals program. It sounds great, but is there a catch?
Well, like with any promotional offer, you got to read the fine print, right?
Yeah.
Remember, this is for new customers who are making a pretty sizable investment, and it can change at any time.
So it's not really free. It's more like a bonus for, bigger investors.
Exactly. It's a marketing tactic to encourage, those larger investments, which makes sense from a business perspective. But as investors, we need to be aware of those tactics and not let them, cloud our judgment.
So we got to see past the marketing.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And another thing to keep in mind, the free metals are usually, from a limited selection.
Oh, okay.
So it may not actually align with your investment goals or preferences.
So you might end up with something you wouldn't have chosen yourself. It's like getting a free gift with purchase, but you don't get to pick the gift.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, I mean, ultimately the free metals program is not deceptive or anything. It's just important to understand those limitations and not make it, the only reason you decide to invest.
Right, right. So is it like a red flag or is it just a, clever marketing strategy?
I'd say it's more of a marketing strategy. It's pretty common for companies to offer incentives to bring in new clients. But, as savvy investors, we got to be able to see through that and focus on the big picture.
Be an informed consumer. Don't let the marketing gimmicks control your financial decisions.
Exactly. Keep those long-term goals in mind.
All right. Well, we've covered a lot of ground. We talked about their history, their services, the ins and outs of precious metal IRAs, the pros, the cons.
Yeah, we really dissected their offerings, looked at the market, even challenged some of their claims, I think. But the real question is Allegiance Gold right for you?
That's the question, isn't it? The million-dollar question, or maybe the gold-plated question in this case. But like with any investment, there's no easy answer.
Yeah, it's so personal, investing. I mean, what might be great for one person could be a disaster for someone else. It all comes down to, what are your goals? How much risk can you handle? What's your overall strategy?
So let's say someone's listening to this right now and they're thinking, precious metals, interesting. Maybe they're even thinking Allegiance Gold seems like a good fit. What are the key takeaways they should really keep in mind?
The biggest one. Do your own research.
Yeah, of course.
Don't just take our word for it. Don't just take what the company says. Look for independent information. See what other people are saying. Compare different providers.
Right. You wouldn't, make a huge decision like this based on just one conversation.
Exactly. Take your time. Really get to know the company. Look closely at their fees and make sure their values match up with yours. That's important.
Speaking of values, I do think their commitment to investor education says a lot about them. They seem to really want to, give their clients the tools to succeed, not just sell them something.
Right. You want a partner who's invested in your success, not just their own profits, someone who's willing to teach you and guide you.
And that guidance is extra important when it comes to these precious metal IRAs. They can be pretty complicated.
Oh, for sure. You need someone who can answer all your questions and help you make smart choices every step of the way.
So we've laid out the facts, we've looked at the good and the bad, we even poked around for some areas where they could improve. But at the end of the day, is Allegiance Gold the right choice?
That's a question only you can answer. It all depends on your situation and what you're looking for. We've given you the map, but you choose the destination.
And remember, investing's not a race. It's a marathon. Take your time, think things through, and make sure your decisions are helping you reach those long-term goals.
Absolutely.
Okay, before we wrap things up, I want to leave everyone with something to think about. You know how gold is considered a safe haven when things are uncertain? What does that say about where the economy is headed? What does that say about, traditional investments?
That's a good question. It makes you think about, the need for stability, maybe a shift in how we think about value in the global economy.
Lots to ponder. And on that note, we'll let you go. Until next time, happy investing.